Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one, the only beloved Exian. Now, listen, I'm personally high on this project. Now, I know that people don't want to be hearing that when price is down, so I will not be glazing this project too much, but I will be telling you what is happening with the price and what you should expect over the next couple of weeks. Let's just say up until beginning of 2026. Overall, nothing will change other than this crypto generally going down. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear, but here is the truth. Usually, right, whatever happens in the last quarter, right, the momentum, it's going to stay that way, right? It is just going to stay that way. Ultimately, that is what I expect, right? Same thing with the 6 month candle, right? We had the first 6 months, very, very nice pumps, right? Sure, we didn't close the highest because at one point we were even at almost 5 cents and we closed at 1.4. So obviously, there was a pretty big rejection, but we can see the last 6 months generally have been bearish. All right, they have been bearish ever since kind of July. And we can see that's kind of when the momentum really kind of switched. Yeah, sure, the beginning of July was decent, the beginning to middle of July, but after that, I mean, my God, we've just been generally having sell candles, right? We had technically four buy candles, but I mean, three of them are massive rejections and one was mediocre at best. So it really has been bearish, right? It really has been bearish the last 6 months. I know people are a little bit demotivated. Look, this is the truth. You will have great dollar cost average opportunities over the next couple of weeks for Exian if you are willing to be continuing to dollar cost average. But not only that, but to just also if you believe in the project, right? Sorry, that's what I wanted to say. Also, if you do believe in the project, right, you will be having great opportunities. Now, look, I personally do believe in the project. Is it one of my biggest holdings? No. Is it somewhere in the small to medium end in terms of holdings? Yes, I don't know the actual percentage. Maybe it's like 1, 2, or 3% of my portfolio. I haven't actually checked the percentages in some time, but I do have some conviction for Exium. I personally did buy at this sniper zone at roughly 0.009. Now, I personally thought that was a great, fantastic time to be dollar cost averaging. And personally, I'm still not upset that I even dollar cost averaged there. Why? Because I personally look at it from an investor's mindset. When you look at whales, when you look at investors, they buy sometimes at the most weird and mediocre places on the charts. But at the end of the day, they do that because they know the project is going to do very, very well. We talked about and showed previously just a couple weeks ago how whales were accumulating Exian, right? And that is the truth. Whales were accumulating Exian, and I still believe they are going to continue to accumulate Exian. The thing is, right, we have a lot of imbalance left for this project, which is very, very annoying. But that's usually what happens when a project pumps very, very fast to the upside and it leaves big gaps. Usually these gaps get filled. Now, here is the deal. Sometimes they get filled kind of like the way we are going down now, or sometimes they get left for the next bear season, right? So if this whole entire zone, let's say we never went below, let's say we kind of just bounced off the line and we start to go up, right? This is the next zone I'd be looking for buying opportunities next bear season. That's where I expect for Exian to go to personally, right? Personally, that's where I would expect Exian to go to. Now, look, right? Um, what I am saying is ultimately we could be seeing Exian drop overall another potentially 50%. Now I know that seems like a lot, which it obviously is just from this point, but like I said, it must be done. It must be done. Even when we go look at some of the previous market structure, right? We didn't really have any real imbalance. Like we just had like if you really want to be technical, you could maybe say this is a little bit, but this is not really anything, right? This is not really anything. The last real imbalance that was left for Exian before it started to go up was this zone over here. And we can see at one point we went all the way down. Like we literally pretty much filled up this whole entire zone. And after that, right, Exian kind of went sideways for a few short months. And then that's when it really started to explode and take off, right? November, beginning of November, it had momentum. And then in the new year, it exploded, right? It exploded. So that is the thing. I still expect XCN to be dropping a good amount. Now, how far do I think XCN can go up this cycle? Well, still personally haven't lost my conviction for a 10 billion market cap zone, right? A 10 billion market cap at this point would be a 40x from here. Okay. And like I said, since we are potentially going to be dropping at least another 30, 40, 50%, I do believe you could genuinely get up to 70 to 90x if you snipe those lower zones. Now, I know that sounds crazy. People might not believe that right now. People might think, that's a crazy thing to say. But when you look at XCN's previous history, right, you got to remember within a 2 week span, even if we take like the bottom of the pump generally, right, and take it to the top, this thing went up like 21x. And that's not even accounting if you dollar cost average or bought in at lower prices. Let's say you did buy in the lower end for these general prices, right? Boom. And you could have had upwards of 43x. So yes, I know how it seems like you might be discouraged now, but you got to remember people took risks down here with XN, right? People took risks down here. They had conviction that they had conviction that this type of price action would happen one way or another. Did they know maybe it was going to pump a 20, 30, 40x? Maybe no, not necessarily. I don't know. I can't read their mind. But they did have a conviction of at least making some type of great money. Now, that's the same thing here, right? The question is, will you be dollar cost averaging? Do you still believe in the project? If you do, this is hypothetically a great zone. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. You always have to do your own research. But just objectively speaking, you are buying near the bottoms. And I do believe 2026 is going to be the year of the altcoins, right? If we did see roughly a 10x from here, that would be 2.5 billion market cap, roughly 7 cents. If we saw 5 billion market cap, that would be roughly 14 cents. Where is 14 cents? Well, 14 cents gets us to all the way up here. Now, that might seem like a lot, but in terms of market cap, 5 billion in the peak of altcoin season, it really isn't that much. 5 billion in the peak of altcoin season really isn't that much. I personally do believe, right, that we would, at the bare minimum, probably be taking out the zone of 18 cents. So maybe upwards of 7.5 billion market cap, right, is very, very realistic in terms of pure structure, comparing structure to market cap. But overall, my conviction is still very, very high on this crypto. Remember, right? People at one point thought it was crazy to see even a 5x down here, and they got a over 20x. So do not get discouraged, right? Do not get discouraged, especially that we still haven't actually seen the true altcoin season. Now, I know some of you people might be thinking, well, it's dead. Personally, when I look at the charts that suggest if there's going to be an altcoin season or not, all I see is altcoin season next year. Okay. We have been on track the last 2 years for an altcoin season. We have been doing everything right. And I know people might think, well, how does that make any sense? But I'm telling you, when I look at the charts that matter, we were on track. It was just very, very slow. It was very turtle, right? It was just turtle. And that's just the truth. Listen, at the end of the day, right, you have to make the choice. If you believe Exian is worth the buy, think about it. If you take it from the last relevant high to, let's just say, some of these bottoms, right? Let's just say down here, right? Then you are going to be buying at a very nice massive discount zone. Even right now, technically 0.88 is very nice, but you would be buying even lower. So at the end of the day, you have to make your own decision. You have to look at it from a mathematical standpoint as well, a probability standpoint, and a project standpoint. If you believe in the project, if you look at the math and the probability, and you believe there's going to be an altcoin season, then at the end of the day, buying now and between 0.88 and the one zone is more than fantastic, right? At the end of the day, people, you have to make your own choices. But that is my personal conviction. I will be looking to be buying more Exian as I do believe it is going to be going lower. And I do believe it is worth the price, especially if we do see it come back down to this green box. I'm telling you, once for me, we start entering this green box zone, especially let's just say from the 0.005 and between the 0.0025, right? Somewhere over here, I will be dollar cost averaging heavily, super, super heavily here. That is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. Like I said, I don't really expect too much bear or bullish momentum up until the start of 2026. So yeah, I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.